Hello, and welcome back to episode number 11 of Pureblu Spotlight. Now, for those who are joining us for the first time, Manish and me are the founders of Pureblu. And Spotlight is a 30-minute session held every month where we would like to share our thoughts on the three guiding pillars of Pureblu called as RAP, which is reliability, accountability, and productivity. So, hi, Manish, welcome back. And we are on our 11th episode.
Wow, hard to believe when we talked about doing this, as a monthly series. We are now 11 months into it, and it seems like the momentum is building. People are interested. People, are sending us questions, which is great. So yeah, it's great to be back for episode number 11.
Awesome. So, to all our viewers, before we actually get cracking on today's topic, a quick run on this. At Pureblu, we have two product lines: our SaaS platform, an easy to use software for air conditioning service providers to manage their customers, field resources, the trouble ticket, and the life cycle of the air conditioning and refrigeration systems. Our second product line is Smart AMC, where multi city, multi location, all kinds of brands of air conditioning systems are managed as a one stop solution under annual maintenance contracts, which also gives you an IoT device free of cost. This device sends you daily reports on your energy consumption. And please note, 70% of your energy consumption is from air cons. And a well maintained air conditioning system can save close to 20% of your energy consumption. So, Manish, what's our topic today? I know based on the feedback, you decided that we should take this. So, over to you, and let's introduce our discussion today.
Sounds good. So, if you have watched the previous 10 episodes, it's usually me and Ajit going back and forth on different topics that affect the industry. But I thought it would be something interesting because I've seen Ajit over the last 3-4 years do a lot of things, at a national level, engagement around the industry. So I thought it would be good to kind of get his perspective on what he's been doing, for the last several years and how he's connected with, industry leaders, thought leaders, government leaders around the air conditioning HVAC space. So really there's a couple of key things. One of them that really started all this was something called the India Cooling Action Plan, ICAP, which was talking about, if the industry in the country, progresses, we're going to need more air conditioning. That could lead to, more energy consumption, things like that. So how do we kind of, do things together so we're not, just adding a lot of, energy and, air conditioning capacity and then, affecting other parts of the industry. So he's going to talk about that and really talk about the opportunities and challenges that we, foresee in the air conditioning and refrigeration industry. So today, this is going to be me about asking him 5 or 6 questions, and he's going to talk a little about his thoughts around it. So Ajit, over to you for the very first one, which is talking about, your role as a national president of RATA and how you see ICAP and the things you're working on, and what is your, 30,000 overview of this 30,000 foot overview.
Right, Manish. So, this is like I was talking to you before. You can wake me up at mid at 2:30 in the morning from my sleep, and I can just go on and on with this. I literally breathe this. So it all started with I represent the Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Trade Association of India, which I'm the national president. It's a body of MSME in the field of HVAC&R, very poorly represented in the entire value chain. Having said that, today we represent about 10,000 crores of the HVAC&R business and close to about 65,000 employees. And as a national president, I kind of engage a lot with the government, bodies like the Council of Energy, Environment and Water, not-for-profit organization, and various bodies which talks about policy matters on the HVAC&R industry. And my involvement with the industry has, helped me get a lot of insights into a number of things, and also influence and enable change within the industry. In a way, it's an exciting space to be in an industry poised for growth with tons of problems. But, I look at these problems as an opportunity to fix, an opportunity to monetize, an opportunity to make sure that it doesn't become a hurdle in the growth of the industry. So that's the big thing. And as I told you, there are tons of problems around this.
Right. So having said that, let's talk about the first thing. Let's talk about what is the India Cooling Action Plan.
Okay. So ICAP, India Cooling Action Plan, probably we were the first country who actually went ahead and built ICAP, which is India Cooling Action Plan. That is, see what happens is, uh, seven, cooling is no more kind of comfort. It's not a luxury. It is something which has got to do with productivity. Ask yourself a simple question. Go into a restaurant, if it's not air conditioned, will you sit there? You go into your offices, if it's not air conditioned, will you stop work? There are so many things which are related to cooling. So cooling is all about productivity. Now, if productivity is linked to cooling, why is it that only 7% of the Indians can afford air conditioning? And that's a big question. Why is it only a privilege of a few? Typically, everybody should be able to afford air conditioning. But here's the flip side: 70% of the cooling energy, cooling takes about 70% of the energy consumption. So we have another challenge about it. Sustainability is extremely important. So, how do we actually fix these plans? What is the future looking like? And the India Cooling Action Plan, a 168 page document, which is released by the Government of India, Environment Ministry, and it was written by some of the finest brains from the industry and also strategic think tanks who work together to give a direction on where this industry is going and which are the areas it is going to cover. And remember, cooling is not only about air conditioning. When you sit for a meal on your table, the vegetables, the meal that you have made, how did those vegetables reach your dinner table from the farm? Have you ever thought about it? That happens because of refrigeration. That's also a cooling process. Now think how those potatoes have actually traveled all the way to your plate, to your dinner table. That's all because of cooling and various kinds of cooling, transit cooling, cold storages, so many kinds of things and they all consume energy, and that's all poised for growth. And India Cooling Action Plan actually puts this out there. And I think that's the beauty. It's available on the internet. It's easily accessible for people who are interested in the industry. Just do a
Mhm.
search and you will get the entire document. Download it and read about it. It covers industry to industry. And mind you, just to sum it up, this industry, as per the ICAP, India Cooling Action Plan, is expected to grow 8 times in the next 2 decades. All right, which means we'll finally see 65% of the Indians who will have the opportunity to access cooling and to have better productivity. That's a huge opportunity for us in terms of growth, in terms of innovation, and in terms of disruption. And I think I'm super excited about it. And that's what the India Cooling Action Plan is all about.
Sounds good. So I would recommend, like you said, you can download it, but I will be just warning people that if you download it and read it, you have to be super excited about the industry because it's a typical industry report, and I think only people from the industry will understand the scale and the scope and what's really happening. It's one of those things that casually, if you look at it, you won't think anything of it. So I would definitely recommend people take a look at it. And really there's two things that I think are driving where the government's coming from. The two things are, one is around energy consumption and the second is around refrigerants. So energy consumption, the problem is, if you all of a sudden have, let's say, a million air conditioners today, you need to kind of make sure we have the energy grid in place. So that's part of it, is how do we build whatever we need to do for capacity for all of this energy consumption, because as we see with most like I would say like a hotel, 50% of their 50% of their electric bill is probably air conditioning. So we need to kind of build in that capacity. But the second thing, and more importantly, is around refrigerants. And I think that's kind of really what I'd like to talk about, because that's a little bit more specific. You've got refrigerants like R12, R22, R410A. These are the things that, we're trying to, kind of figure out how to keep, how to phase out. So I guess you can tell us a little bit about how that impacts the industry.
All right. So refrigerants is another challenge. So one, we spoke about energy consumption. The other is refrigerants. What traditionally loosely everyone talks about is the gas in the air conditioner. Typically for residences,
Yeah.
the gas leak, that's the lingo which they use, but it's actually a refrigerant. Now, what happens with the refrigerant? The refrigerant is ozone depleting. So sustainability factor comes in very big. So if these refrigerants which leak into the atmosphere, they're ozone depleting, and they create havoc within our environment. So the Montreal Protocol spoke about, there are signatories, including India as being one of them, where they said that, hey, listen, we need to phase out these ozone depleting refrigerants, which means there are equipments which are using these refrigerants before they leak, which usually happens. And that's the problem with servicing, which happens if you don't have qualified people and good people to manage this. These machines over a period of time will leak these gases out, and then they create havoc with our environment. So the government is saying that let's replace with another kind of a gas. Now the problem here is, which is the right gas to replace it with, or which is the right refrigerant to replace it. Now, that's a bit of a problem, because we don't have one single refrigerant can solve all the kind of problems. So the industry is coming up with multiple refrigerants. And let's be honest about it. There are innovations which have happened in the US, there's innovations that's happened in Japan, and they have their interest to actually promote each of these refrigerants, because without that refrigerant, so anybody who makes air conditioning systems will have to use refrigerants. So if you control the refrigerant market, why not? I can make money out of it. So that's a big challenge that you have. And now here's, look at it from a challenge perspective for the industry. Let's say there is going to be multiple refrigerants. So you walk into a house, your hall will have one refrigerant, because it's a new refrigerant which is there, which you bought a new AC. Your bedroom is an old one, so you have an older refrigerant. Somewhere in between, you bought it for the children's room, so that's a different refrigerant. So when a technician walks into that place, there is no way he can handle all of these three very easily, because some of these refrigerants, which are the ones which we are going to use right now, are either flammable or toxic. So the earlier refrigerants which were ozone depleting were not toxic, they were not flammable, they wouldn't explode or anything on that side. But the ones which you're going to use right now are probably toxic. The toxicity levels change, but that could be a problem. So this is another issue. How do you make sure? And in our country, we don't even have certification. Our technicians are not certified. How the hell do you make sure that the guy doesn't explode that? Yeah, so many accidents that we've come through. So safety and accidents continue to be a huge challenge within this industry, and that could be a stumbling block as far as this industry is concerned. So it's a huge matter of concern. As far as refrigerants is concerned, we don't know which way that is going. And here's the big thing. Even the government of India says, let's replace all the old refrigerants, old air conditioners. Fantastic. We are ready to put money around it. Not just the government of India, even the world is ready. Fantastic. The question we are asking is, do we know where these machines are installed? Who's got
Yeah.
these machines? Which city? What capacity? No, we don't have any of that information. That's a big complex. That's the complexity that comes with the refrigerants.
I see. So, you mentioned, safety and accidents. Again, one more thing, like I had mentioned, if you all of a sudden you have, like, let's say 1 million or 10 million new air conditioning units, the part of it is, the energy. But really, before we even get to the energy, is, do we have the skilling? Do we have the manpower to handle that growth? And how can that be resolved? So I think that's kind of also partly covered in the ICAP report, but I guess you can kind of give your real world experience around that.
So first of all, the biggest problem is the servicing contributes a lot in terms of the inefficiencies, because see, the number of manufacturers, 15, 20, 25. You can actually, you have a data bank, the government can go there, you came up with an energy labeling system, you made a better product, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, and you improvised. We've not been able to fix this whole unorganized sector, it has become unorganized. While there are,
Mhm.
it's not that everybody is, but it's pretty much treated as an unorganized sector, because their margins are less, so they don't have the money to pay their technicians. So social security and remuneration is a huge hurdle, and this is preventing youngsters from coming into this industry. Now, can you imagine an industry that is growing, expected to grow 8 times in the next 2 decades? it's not attracting talent. That needs to change. And that can change only when the social security, safety, and remuneration can be fixed. And this will, of course, increase the cost because trained manpower, once you train them, it is adding to your cost. But hey, that's what you require. That's the need that is going to happen. But you will have a reliable service, you will have reliability coming in. And if that's not fixed, this could become a challenge to the industry. And we need to look at, how do we get more people to see the opportunity the industry holds. And that's as far as the new people and skilling them.
Mhm.
We also have another big challenge with these new refrigerants which are coming in. How do we actually reskill these people on a constant basis? I mean, we don't even have a data of our technicians. We don't know where these technicians are. Who are these people, which city, and what level is his of his skill right now? We do not have that information. They're all working in silos, working in different. And I'm not saying these companies are not training and everything, but they're all working in silos, not linked together, repetitive work happening, cost of training increase, no monitoring around that happening. That are we all moving towards the final goal? And I guess that's going to be a challenge. So, in short, I think skilling is a problem. And look at from the government perspective, an industry which is expected to grow 8 times, air conditioning doesn't even show up in the skilling ministry. It comes under televisions, and it comes under consumer electronics. And I guess that needs to change. And we need to talk about how can we make this a focus industry as far as skilling is concerned. How do we certify? Now, these are very important things. Certify is not about bringing this guy from the field, get him into a classroom and issue a certificate. That's not the way. That is outdated. You will never be able to do it. Because the moment you start doing it, he says, I am not going to give up my bread and butter to come and learn something. How do you train the guy on the job? And I think technology has a huge opportunity to play out here. How do you actually train the guy while he's working? And how do you use technology to certify them digitally? You don't need a regulatory mechanism. And if that's not done, you have a problem. And that could be a huge hurdle in the growth of this industry. And I think that's another big challenge that you're going to have.
I see. Okay. So, we talked really, about a wide variety of things, but I think the one that is really the key for the government and for India as a whole is this whole Make in India initiative. Now, I know that was a very big initiative. 3-4 years ago, there was a lot of, fanfare about it. So I think some industries, might have benefited from it, but I think really people really saw the benefit of Make in India during the pandemic, and the fact that we were able to produce our own anecdote, our own, with the Serum Institute, we were able to produce our own vaccines in this country. And that was a big benefit. Now, to think if we had to go out and buy 2 billion, 3 billion shots from another country, that would have been a huge outflow of money. But luckily, we were able to produce it locally, and we got, obviously very good competitive, deals on that within us, and then able to sell outside. So I think from that perspective, I think a lot of people are now realizing, hey, it's good to have local manufacturing, and maybe, of course, part of it can be done in other countries, but we should at least have a base here in India. And I feel that's probably the same thing with the air conditioning industry. I'm assuming we probably manufacture some stuff, but I guess you can kind of give us an idea of how much of it is manufactured in India versus outside India, and really where are the key components being manufactured today? And because that really will help us reverse and kind of really get this Make in India initiative going for the HVAC industry.
Manish, it all comes back to only one thing again. It's all about the data. 70% of the components that go into air conditioning system is imported, probably from one country.
Wow.
That's the major import that we have, and with whom we have real stress going from our security levels. Okay, so it's a huge concern as far as that is concerned. On one hand, we are saying it's all related to productivity. 65% of the nation should get these, should have access to cooling, and on the other hand, we are saying, hey, 70% of that components that going into giving that comes from a country whom we see threats from on our security. So I guess it's a very complex problem. So I think the government is working really hard on this. They did come up with a first round of productivity linked incentives, but it's primarily focused on a large, about 20 to 30 odd large companies to actually push the ecosystem and say that, hey, you guys get started, and then slowly we will move it. Now, typically, if you look at the Indian manufacturers, if they want to step up their manufacturing, or Indian component manufacturers, the first challenge they are saying is, which is the component that I should get into, right? So there are different levels. One is a low tech product, low hanging fruits, then the medium tech where you need some technology, and the third is a real high tech one. So the high tech ones we don't have access to right now, but which are the ones we actually should get into? That seems to be a problem. So, and then second is, okay, if I make these products, if I start making these components, I can't just cater only to the Indian market. I want to access to the global markets too. How do I reach out? So, should I spend time marketing it and manufacturing it and improvising, or is there a way? And can somebody else handle? Is there a marketplace that can actually just take me across and just say that, hey, listen, I dump it here, and they will make sure that it reaches everybody? And it's all coming down, what do I start manufacturing? So it's all eventually coming to component manufacturing, and we may continue to grow, but if this dependency does not change, it could hamper our growth, and there is an opportunity here to solve this problem, and I think that needs to be fixed.
Sounds good. So, surprisingly, not as I expected, we're kind of running a little bit low. We got maybe like 9 or 10 minutes left. So, what I'd like to do is let's just talk directly. In your opinion, what are some of the problems that Pureblu can solve that can help the industry grow?
So here's one of the things. So one of the the biggest thing is, if you look at the ICAP, India Cooling Action Plan, there is an entire section which talks about a digital ecosystem that can fix most of the potential threats that we spoke about. And we discovered this, in fact, after we founded Pureblu. Halfway through Pureblu, we never, when we founded Pureblu, we only identified our problems, and then we said, hey, listen, we need something. And somewhere down 2 years down the lane, the ICAP was launched, and we said, oh my God, look at this. There's an entire section of which talks about how this ecosystem can be fixed using a technology platform. So what Pureblu is actually working around is, we are an IoT-based platform, and we can digitize the entire ecosystem to bring down costs, bring accountability across the value chain. So manufacturers can get a dependable platform to scale their customers and get reliable products and services. And that's the big, so today manufacturers doesn't know what happens in the life cycle of the product, because it goes through a network of dealers or online or anything, or retailers, and then reaches, and then is completely disconnected. But an IoT device can actually bring in that information through the platform and give them ideas on how they can build better products, energy efficiency. And that's the beauty. And that's what we did with our Smart AMC. We launched an IoT-based platform, which primarily helps enterprises to give energy consumption data. And that data is something that we will eventually use to build a lot of predictive maintenance, and make sure that, why should these failures happen in the first place? Can you predict these maintenance? And that's what we can be a game changer for most of the large enterprise users, and we can save money for them. So everything is actually bringing down costs and increasing efficiency. And that's what Pureblu is going to stay focused on. And our SaaS product has digitized the service providers, dealers, and system integrators in a very big way. And we've now got we started off staying focused in solving India's problem, and we were very fortunate that we've got some international rollouts that has happened, because watching what we've been doing, we've had some people from outside India who actually signed up with us and who are using our platform, which is very interesting. So that's fantastic. That process is still on, and hopefully, and that's organic, purely organic. So it's exciting to be in that space. Our SaaS products has helped digitize the service providers, dealers, system integrators, and our future and our products we are under design, which we intend to build in the future, are like spares and component marketplace, which will take the headache of these small manufacturers on reaching out to potential markets, not just in India, but on a global level. We have the registry of the technicians. We can train them on the job without taking them off the field, using and digitally upgrade and certify them. Our equipment data can help replacing these polluting machines and help with the refrigerant replacements. Our APIs can help these marketplaces get reliable installers, and all this labeled data can help build predictive maintenance for our industries. to build better products. And that will help us build a sustainable and energy efficient industry. I think, Manish, you know what? We have a solution with Pureblu. I mean, of course, it's a business model, but I think the exciting factor is I think we will fix a problem before we get to our graves, and that's a nice way to get in. We did something, we
Very
made a
much so.
difference, yeah, and I think that's
Yep.
exciting, and that's what keeps me exciting. That I think we figured a way out. It's going to take some time, but we're going to get this done. So that's what keeps me motivated. But Manish, all throughout that what we've discussed right now, and you've seen from my opinion also, it's all about coming down to data. That's what it is coming to. What's your take on? I mean, I've always believed that data is a big play. Most industries have moved towards it. What do you think that role is there, the implications of data on our industry? What's your take on this?
Well, I think like every industry, data is now going to be core to it. And I'll give you an example. You look at healthcare. Before healthcare, you would go to a physician. He'd give you some information, he'd help you, and you'd solve your problem. Now imagine, you extrapolate that by 1,000 visits that doctors' information is now put into a database, and they can start coming up with trends. And I think that's the issue that everyone is now realizing is when you aggregate one person, when you have one person's data, it's just one data point. But when you overlay that with 1,000 different data points, 10,000, 1,000,000, then you can start seeing trends emerge. So that's, in the healthcare space. You look at cars now. One of the things about Tesla, everybody talks about, oh my God, Tesla, one of the first big EV brands to really launch. But what's really amazing is the fact that they're actually mapping a lot of the roads because they've got cameras in all of their cars, and that's actually able to kind of really aggregate the data. Now, at some point, they could actually sell that data back to someone else saying, hey, we actually know the health of the roads. Because we've got so many cars that are going over the same road every day, we can actually tell you where there are maybe potholes, where you need to fix it, things like that. So that's, that's at a car level. Now, for air conditioning, that is huge, because think about it. You're in your car for how many hours a day? If you're a commercial operator, you may be in your vehicle multiple hours. If you're if you're, let's say, a private vehicle owner, you may be in your car maybe 1 hour, 2 hours a day. But now imagine you're in your house or you're in your office where air conditioning is happening. You're in that facility for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. There's a lot of information we can gather. We can actually start to figure out, where is the flow of people. You can understand where the energy consumption is. We can start, helping, even planning around where energy may end up being needed later on in, let's say, 1 day, 2 days, because you can look at the graph of the data and understanding, this is a typical consumption pattern, and there's lots of usage that happens on the weekend. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with the data. I mean, we haven't even gotten to the part where, if you've got, let's say, 100 machines of the same type, let's say a typical, Daikin split air conditioning unit, let's just call it model 125, we can actually take that and say, hey, we've got information on your model 125 for the last, 1 year, and we've got over 1,000 machines that are in it, and we can tell you a little bit about how they operate. And from that, we can actually give back to the manufacturer the reliability of their machines, because we've got so much data on it. So the fact is, data will play a critical part in HVAC industry, more so than it ever has, because right now there's no way to really aggregate that data, and no one is actually doing it. But there is definitely a play in that, and that's something that we're planning on doing in the future, is seeing how we can aggregate that data. And really a lot of it is around, people are like worried about, oh my God, they will know what I'm doing. It's like everything else when you look at Google. It's really about anonymizing the data, taking out what we call PII, which is personally identifiable information. We want to really strip that information out and really just give it, give information in aggregate form. And that's really where data is going to go. And I think that's where the whole industry is moving towards, is, giving very high level summary information to people that can actually help them. And a perfect example would be, is, let's say you set your air conditioning at 22. If you, get data saying, hey, if you set your machine at 24, you can actually save X amount, and 85% of the people also set it at 24. Then you kind of understand that's the wisdom of the crowd, and that's kind of what we're trying to aim for. And that's really what I think data is definitely key to any long-term industry moving forward into the digital age. And for us at Pureblu, that's one of our biggest, selling points on the SaaS platform in the future will be data collection, data monetization.
Absolutely. I guess that's a lot of information. You and me can just go on and on. We literally breathe this out
Yes.
day in and day out. But I guess we're done with our time. So, uh,
Yes.
to most of our viewers, thank you for joining us today. And we still need to make a sales pitch here. And if you're a service provider in the HVAC space and would like to see the demo of our software, please call on the number that you see on the screen. And we would be very happy to fix a demo for you. And that's the number on the screen. Please call us and we'll be very happy to do a demo, and you can see how you can benefit about providing reliable services. However, if you are using air conditioners, which I believe that you are, most of us are, 70% of that energy consumption comes from that air conditioner. And a smart AMC, which is an annual maintenance contracts with a free IoT device, is the way to go forward, whereby your air conditioners are taken good care of and you also know what is the energy consumption that's coming around it. So you can save money. So that's the number on the screen. That's for smart AMCs. Or drop an email to us and we'll have one of our engineers who will actually get in touch with you and help you get into a smart AMC. So thank you so much for being with us today. We're just about a minute over from our schedule, 30 minutes. But I guess we shared quite a bit of information. Keep writing into us. We'll be happy to address many more such questions. And look forward to the episode number 12, seeing all of you back again next month with another topic. What do you say, Manish? Thank you very much.
Sounds good. Yes. We'll wrap it up and see you at episode number 12. Take care.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.